13 Best Comedy Movies on Hulu Right Now, July 2026, Saturday Night, and more. It's always a good time for a comedy, especially in the summer when you have more time to laugh. Hulu has plenty of comedies, from the goofy like Happy Gilmore with Adam Sandler to the romantic like Drinking Buddies with Anna Kendrick. Watch With Us recommends several comedies that blend laughter with drama. Director Jason Reitman's Saturday Night features an all-star cast in its depiction of Saturday Night Live's chaotic premiere, while Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin play relatives who try to bond on an overseas trip in a real pain.
Tired of constantly refilling your pet's water bowl? This filtered fountain keeps water circulating and offers a generous capacity, giving cats and small dogs convenient access to flowing water. Want to get the best verified deal and see full details? Visit grabdeal.us/5 right now.
Saturday Night Live is over 50 years old, and it's firmly established as a TV and cultural institution. But when it debuted on October 11, 1975, it was just another show struggling to survive. The origin story of how SNL's first broadcast happened, and the overwhelming odds creator and producer Lorne Michaels, Gabriel LaBelle, had to overcome to make it happen, is at the heart of Saturday Night, a mostly fact-based account that chronicles the chaotic hours leading up to the sketch comedy's first show. Along with writer and girlfriend Rosie Shuster, Rachel Sennott, Michaels tries to help his not-ready-for-primetime players, which include the hot-tempered Chevy Chase, Corey Michael Smith, Gilda Radner, Ella Hunt, Dan Aykroyd, Dylan O'Brien, and Andy Kaufman, Nicholas Braun, focus and get ready for the series launch. But Michael already has his hands full dealing with disapproving execs and a nagging fear that Saturday Night Live will fall apart before it ever airs. Little does he know he'll make history that night and be associated with SNL forever. Even though they've known each other for most of their lives, cousins David and Benji Kaplan, Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin, are strangers to each other. When their grandmother leaves them money to travel to Poland for a Jewish heritage tour, they decide to try to connect with each other while finding out more about their family's history. But Benji's impulsiveness gets on David's nerves, and as they visit various Holocaust sites with a tour group, their trip threatens to drive them further apart. A Real Pain is equal parts funny and sad. It's a movie that tackles depression and suicide with a self-deprecating humor that makes its sometimes painful observations go down easy. Eisenberg and Culkin are completely convincing as two relatives who love each other even though they can't stand one another. Culkin won almost every critical award, including the Oscar, for his deeply moving and very funny portrayal of a man lost in life with nowhere to go. James King, Will Ferrell, is a hedge fund manager with a beautiful fiancée, Alyssa Allison Brie, and a tough boss, Martin Craig T. Nelson, who just happens to be Alyssa's father. When James is arrested for fraud, his entire life implodes, Martin fires him, Alyssa leaves him, and he faces a 10-year stint in San Quentin. He has 30 days until he starts his prison sentence, so he hires Darnell Lewis, Kevin Hart, to help him prepare for life behind bars. Darnell doesn't have a clue what it's like to be a criminal, but he'll have to fake it until he makes it, or else he'll lose $30,000 and a shot at improving his daughter's life. Although it was made only 11 years ago, Get Hard wouldn't get made today. Big screen comedies are a rare breed, and the film's tasteless jokes about race and homophobia aren't that marketable or appealing in the post-woke era. Maybe that's why Get Hard is better now than it was then. Some of its gags are so wrong, they're right, and Ferrell and Hart have a good comedic chemistry with each other. In 2008, North Meadows High School students Sonny, John Reynolds, Katie, Sophia Blackdalia, and the rest of their small class never finished senior year. They had a good reason: a massive tornado shut down their school. 18 years later, they're asked to complete the final 2 weeks of their high school careers, or else they won't be considered graduates. Now they'll have to relive some of the worst adolescent nightmares, like overbearing teachers, toxic gossip, and bitter rivals. Never Change takes everyone's worst nightmare going back to school as an adult and wrings some pretty good jokes out of it. It's not unlike Wet Hot American Summer, another comedy about grown adults behaving like children and never change. Shares that film's oddball, envelope-pushing humor. Drug Rehab isn't particularly funny, but in the hands of legendary American humorists Mike Nichols and Star Wars actress Carrie Fisher, it's an opportunity to tell some very pointed jokes about Hollywood mother-daughter relationships. And yes, the constant desire to swallow as many mind-altering substances you can get your hands on. Susan Vale Meryl Streep is almost washed up as a second-generation actress, but she's still working, albeit on a B-grade cop movie she has no respect for. It's a good distraction from dealing with her mother, Doris Mann, Shirley MacLaine, who wants her to do well, just not better than her, and her situationship with Jack Faulkner, Dennis Quaid, a producer with wandering body parts. Suzanne wants to do well and be sober, but she has more problems than ever, and the way she's dealt with tough times in the past is by doing drugs. Can she find the right balance and finally be happy? Billy McMahon, Vince Vaughn, and Nick Campbell, Owen Wilson, are out of work and almost out of money. In desperation, they apply to be Google interns for the summer, and much to their surprise, they're accepted. To secure full-time jobs at the tech giant, they'll have to compete with their fellow interns to see who can show their bosses they have what it takes to make it at Google. That should be simple for old dogs like Billy and Nick, but when the latter starts to fall for executive Dana Rose Byan, their path to financial security becomes way too complicated. Setting aside that the movie acts as one big commercial for Google and how amazing it is, the internship is a genial comedy that showcases the comedic chemistry between leads Vaughn and Wilson that made their previous hit, Wedding Crashers, such a blast to watch. Byan is a welcome presence as the level-headed Dana, and it's a hoot to see the pushing 40 Billy compete in a game of Quidditch with pint-sized interns who are still in college. Tough-talking NYPD cop Terry Holtz, Mark Wahlberg, doesn't much care for his new partner, meek forensic accountant Alan Gamble, Will Ferrell. He'll need his unlikely associate to solve the mysterious kidnapping of British billionaire David Urshan, Steve Coogan, though, and their forced partnership means chaos is sure to ensue. The case gets far more complicated than either man is comfortable with, and soon, they're knee-deep in a conspiracy that involves their own department. Can this odd couple save the day, or will their difference doom them and the ones they care about the most? Directed by Adam McKay, The Other Guys is a loving send-up of the buddy cop genre that gave birth to such classics as 48 HRS. And Lethal Weapon. Wahlberg plays it straight, but that's exactly what he needs to do to give co-star Ferrell something to work with. The SNL star is hilarious as a mild-mannered cop who hides a tough guy personality, not unlike Mel Gibson's out-of-control Los Angeles enforcer, Martin Riggs. Eva Mendes shows up as Ferrell's unusually beautiful wife, and she possesses a comedic flair she never really showed again. Thanks to Stranger Things, 1980s nostalgia is here to stay. If you're a fan of the decade that brought the world the Brat Pack, shoulder pads, and big hair, then you'll get a kick out of Take Me Home Tonight, a retro comedy that dials up the Reagan-era references and isn't afraid to get down and dirty with its humor. That 70s shows Topher Grace stars as Matt, a recent college graduate still figuring out what to do with his life. He hates his current job at a video store, but things perk up when he sees his high school crush, Torai Teresa Palmer. Wanting to impress her, he lies to Torai and says he's an investment banker at Goldman Sachs. Impressed, Torai invites him to a Labor Day party to cement their romance. With his twin sister Wendy's help, Anna Faris, Matt thinks he can win Torai's heart. But how long can he keep the truth from her? Romy and Michelle's high school reunion features Myra Sorvino and Lisa Kudrow as best friends, Romy White and Michelle Weinberger, respectively. 10 years ago, they were mercilessly bullied in high school by the likes of Christy Masters, Julia Campbell, and Billy Christiansen, Vincent Ventresca. Now, their 10-year reunion has arrived, and both women are spectacularly unsuccessful. Rather than let their failures in life keep them away, the two women decide to pretend to be successful and wealthy at the reunion. However, the trip brings out the worst in Romy and Michelle, and their friendship may never be the same again. Romy and Michelle's high school reunion is streaming on Hulu. Neighbors has been largely forgotten for decades, but this was the last film made by John Belushi before his death. It also reunited Belushi with his Blues Brothers co-star, Dan Aykroyd, one last time as they essentially traded their comic personas. For this story, Belushi played the uptight Earl Keese and Aykroyd was the unhinged Victor Vic Zek. Earl's life with his wife, Enid Catherine Walker, was uneventful until Vic and his wife, Ramona Kathy Moriarty, moved in next door. Suddenly, things are getting too interesting in the neighborhood, and Earl openly distrusts the Zecks. But everyone around Earl thinks he's overreacting to the new additions. Legal comedies are pretty rare, much less Oscar-winning legal comedies. My Cousin Vinny's greatest claim to fame is that Marissa Tomei won Best Supporting Actress for her fiery turn as Mona Lisa Vito. As much as she deserved it, this is also Joe Pesci's movie. He plays Vinny Gambini, an inexperienced personal injury lawyer who is forced to take up his first criminal defense case. Vinny's cousin, Bill Gambini, Ralph Macchio, and his friend, Stan Rothenstein Mitchell Whitfield, are on trial for a murder they didn't commit. In this environment, Vinny's a fish out of water and a constant source of irritation to Judge Chamberlain Haller, Fred Gwynne. The film gets a lot of humor out of that relationship, but it's also fairly accurate with its depiction of trials and laws. Lawyers love this movie, and so will you. Code 3 is a very funny movie, but it's got some serious dramatic moments as well. The Office's Rainn Wilson stars as Randy, a paramedic who is at the end of his rope after years of treating patients in the back of an ambulance alongside his driver, Mike Lil Rel Howery. On his final 24-hour shift, Randy is forced to let a medical student, Jessica Amy Carrero, join him in the back and get a first-hand look at what he dealt with every night on the job. There are times when the paramedics genuinely save lives and make a difference, but other moments test their resolve and sanity in the face of tragedy and despair. Bullet Train is one of the few action comedies that equally excels at both parts of the equation. Brad Pitt stars as an assassin codenamed Ladybug who is rethinking his life choices. Ladybug's assignment in Japan was supposed to be an easy job, and all he had to do was get on a high-speed bullet train and get off with a suitcase full of cash. Much to Ladybug's chagrin, the train is filled with other assassins who have their own agendas. There's a mysterious woman pulling the strings of these killers, and there's nothing but trouble waiting for all of them at the end of the line.